Talk. It's our great pleasure to have you, for everybody to be joining into our discussion. Theme of the day is Mission to Mars, and we have a very special guest today, which is Elon Musk. Elon, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You're the founder of so many companies, of Tesla, of SpaceX. We're going to speak to that in a minute, but we have more than you in the round. We have entrepreneurs talk today.
Great.
And let me shortly introduce the other guests in the round. Dr. Hannes Ametsreiter, he is the CEO of Vodafone, the telecommunications company. We have Olivier Reppert, he is CEO of ShareNow, the car-sharing company. We have Markus Essing, the CEO of Philip Morris, undergoing a very strict renovation of its business model, moving away from tobacco. We have Andreas Kreuss, CEO of Einhell, which is a company specialized in trading for do-it-yourself construction and building. We have
for batteries.
I'm sorry?
I said for batteries.
And for batteries.
Our main business is our platform, battery platform.
Battery platform.
So we have something in common.
Okay, great.
Dr. Saka Wörmann, he's CEO of DWS, the big B2C investment company. And Oscar de Boek, he is CEO of DHL Supply Chain. And my name is Christoph Käse. I'm your moderator. I'm with AxelSpringer. So, Elon, we just came from visiting your construction site in Greenheide, and I think it's fair to say that everybody was deeply impressed. 12 months ago, this was a forest. There was no sewage.
A cardboard factory, technically.
A cardboard factory,
well, in the sense that the trees were just grown for use in cardboard. So,
okay.
To be clear, not an old-growth forest. It was literally a cardboard farm. Sometimes people wonder, are we knocking down old trees? But it's just, it's actually literally a cardboard farm. So
and today...
we knocked down a cardboard farm.
Okay, but there wasn't any sewage, no fresh water, at least not in pipes, underneath the ground, of course.
Just rain a decent amount, but yeah.
And no electricity.
Yeah.
And now it's a huge factory, almost.
I mean, we have a lot of the core shell that's been built, and there's still a tremendous amount of work that goes on, because the building is like, like if you ever get a computer, this is the building is the box that the computer goes in, but the computer is the hard part.
Yes. So please tell us, Germans are not really famous for building buildings very quickly. We're in Berlin right now, look at the Berlin Airport, right? How do you manage to build so quickly? Well,
it is actually quite difficult to get all the permits, and it requires a lot of effort and a lot of cooperation with the authorities. So I would definitely not say that it is easy to get the permits. It's not easy. One of the approaches that we did take was to proceed at risk with temporary permits. So there is a way to accelerate things in the system to go with temporary permits, but the risk is that your long-term permit could be denied, in which case that you have to stop everything.
And tear it down.
Yes. So most companies are not willing to take the risk of the temporary permit and then the risk of having to stop and tear down. Now,
Elon, you're a CEO of a publicly traded company. Very valuable.
Okay.
Yes, of many publicly traded companies. How do you explain taking this risk to shareholders?
I don't know. I mean, frankly, I think there's probably a lot of risk associated with Tesla, and if a low-risk situation is what an investor wants, I would recommend not investing in Tesla.
But many still invest in Tesla because they believe in speed.
Yeah.
Why is speed of such an essence?
Well, I think the speed is a fundamental determinant of the competitiveness of any company. So especially when there's technology involved. So the rate of innovation fundamentally determines which companies succeed. Which companies are the number one in a particular arena. If one company has twice the speed of innovation of another, provided that company does not die of a self-inflicted wound or have infant mortality, the company with the high rate of innovation will unequivocally win long term.
You're building a factory that is geared for 500,000 cars.
Yes, to be clear, I very much think that, and I've said this many times, the making of a prototype is easy, but production is hard, especially if you have advanced production techniques that people have not used before. The vast majority of our engineering effort is in manufacturing basically designing the machine that makes the machine. So I can't emphasize this enough. The factory, especially an advanced factory, is the hard part. The vehicle design is comparatively easy. So we will aim for 500,000 vehicles a year. That is our goal, to get there as quickly as possible. The only limitation on growth is how quickly can we make cars that are high quality, high reliability. That's the only governing element on the rate of progress. But nonetheless, even with extreme effort, I think it probably takes us until, this is just a guess, until roughly the end of 22 to reach that level of production.
What about demand? Not many Europeans drive electric cars yet you're building a Giga factory, as it's called.
Yeah, it's giant.
Is demand or creation of demand an issue in your mind, or do you think if the car's good, if the car's workable, if it's affordable, it will be sold?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, no question.
No doubt in your mind.
Zero.
How come? Because creating demand is always a huge question on entrepreneurs' mind, but you seem totally confident that it will work.
Absolutely. If you have a compelling product and it is affordable, so the value for money is good, the affordability, people can have enough money to buy it, and the product itself is compelling, then demand is never going to be an issue. So that is not something I worry about. I do worry about making sure that we can achieve affordability thresholds, because even if you make the value for money infinite, if people do not have enough money to buy it, they still can't. And then it's just frustrating for people. They see this great product, too expensive, can't buy it. So making the car affordable is, and while continuing to improve the capabilities and quality of the product, that is the hardest problem.
So many people ask, how does Elon Musk manage his life? And I know you have been asked that question a lot of times, and I heard a lot of interviews with you. But still, even I wonder all the time, how do you do this? Because Tesla in itself is a huge, complex operation with factories on all continents almost by now. Almost, yeah. But it's not your only company. You have SpaceX, which seems to be a huge success. You have your own space program. You're talking about mission to Mars. You have Neuralink connecting computers to brains.
Neuralink's a small company.
It's a small company?
It's very small.
You have the Boring Company building...
Very small.
Very small company. Yeah. You envisioned Hyperloop. It's not a company, but...
Boring Company can do the Hyperloop.
Boring Company can do the Hyperloop?
Yeah. I mean, a Hyperloop is essentially just a fast-moving electric car in a vacuum tube.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have Starlink bringing fast-speed internet to almost every square meter on Earth.
Starlink's going to be great.
It's going to be great, but how?
It's part of SpaceX.
And it's part of SpaceX?
Yes.
How do you manage to dive so deeply into so many different engineering challenges?
Well, I studied physics, and I'd certainly strongly recommend physics as a good grounding to understand the nature of reality. I mean, physics is fundamentally just understanding how does the universe actually work. And then that's a good foundation for then a variety of engineering disciplines. And I think also the analytical principles, the sort of analytical constructs used in physics apply to basically anything. Physics developed all these ways of thinking, like first principles thinking, thinking about things in the limit of high and low, testing your hypothesis. It's the scientific principle essentially. These things are incredibly helpful in all arenas. It's just most people tend to think by analogy or by comparison with something that already exists, and this is a sort of a mental shortcut that requires less brain strain, but it does not. It's hard to get fundamental insights unless you think about things from a first principle standpoint.
And the first principle standpoint is kind of deductive thinking that almost has the force of a natural law, of a physical law of making things happen because they need to happen.
No, first principles thinking is just saying, okay, what are the most fundamental truths that we know about any given situation? like the things that at a very granular level, the sort of simplest building blocks that we're most convinced are true. And then you reason up from those fundamental axioms. And then it's just sort of cogent thinking would be another way to refer to it as. Say, like, are these axioms believed to be the most believed to be true? Are they the most relevant? Do they necessarily lead to a conclusion? What is the probability associated with that conclusion? Because reality is really probability. It's not deterministic. It's not one or the other.
When did you have the personal epiphany, understanding that this rule that comes from physics applies to the business world?
I think it applies to everything, but I don't know. I think probably 95 or 94, something like that.
While swimming, while jogging, under the shower, when did it hit you? Was it a process or a moment?
I don't know. I was thinking about the internet, and those are the early days, and like, what is the internet fundamentally? It's not like a place you get email or post pictures or something. Really, the internet is like a nervous system for humanity, whereas previously communication was more like osmosis. In order for information to travel, somebody would have to call someone with a phone or write them a letter, and then that letter would be carried by another person by a series of people to the destination. Now, communication can happen instantly from any place in the world to anyone else, and does not need a human to carry it. This is sort of like, at a cellular level, you see, say, a primitive multicellular creature will just communicate by osmosis from one cell to the next, or diffusion, essentially. So, but once you have a more sophisticated organism, you have a nervous system. The speed at which information can travel is much faster, and the accessibility of information is fundamentally different. If you want, now with the internet, you could be, in the middle of the Amazon jungle with the internet, with a satellite connection, and you have access to all the world's information. Whereas previously, even if you lived in the Library of Congress in the US, where the most books are, you still would only have access to a fraction of the world's information. This is basically humanity becoming a superorganism to a degree that's not possible unless you have sort of essentially instant light-speed communication from anywhere to anywhere, as opposed to osmosis, diffusion.
Thus, humanity transforming into something like a bioorganism, or at least behaving to
More
the same rules.
Like the speed of information flow, and just, in fact, even not just speed, but qualitatively, the access to information was so limited before. I mean, now technically, you could teach yourself anything. Previously, say, universities had somewhat of a monopoly on higher education, but now MIT has all of their lectures online. You can buy all of the textbooks. You can do the tests online. You can learn anything you want. Almost, I'm not sure what you couldn't learn online, but you can learn right now online for free more than someone who did a doctorate could do before.
Very impressive.
This is just, yeah. So, I mean, what is the purpose of universities at this point? I think it's mostly just to hang out with peers.
Okay.
Have some fun and talk to friends.
And hanging out with peers. This
Not
is
for information.
Good point. Hanging out with peers. This is exactly what we're doing
Yeah.
here.